Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to special council meeting, May 1st. I'll call the meeting to order at 3:30 p.m. and ask, are there any amendments to the agenda?
A few minutes, I have none.
Thank you. We have a motion to confirm the agenda for the special council meeting May 1st and approved as presented. Moved by Councilor Boone, seconded by Councilor Lego. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
A few minutes, I have none.
Thank you. And one item, Outfitters boat launch parking package. The council authorizes staff to implement the Outfitters boat launch package as outlined in the Recreation and Culture Department Manager's report dated May 1st, 2024. Shall I put it on the table with a mover and a seconder and then just let the discussion? Okay, moved by Councilor Lego, seconded by Councilor Cassidy, and I will turn it over to CIO. You can direct where we're going from here.
Thank you, everyone. So, further to the April 17th regular council meeting, where in council will ask staff to speak with various tourist outfitters to try to find an agreeable solution in order to meet some of their needs with respect to their customers. So staff has met and corresponded with the Sioux Hudson Tourism Association, has sent correspondence to all the outfitters that we're aware of. And so there's been some back and forth. And so what you see before you is I think, just sort of use your terminology, Mayor Lawrence, it's the true meaning of compromise. Nobody gets everything they want and everyone's equally unhappy. So I don't know, I don't know if it's quite that bad, but I think that it's a situation that everyone can kind of live with the situation for this year, understanding, of course, that more dialogue, discussions, and opportunities to work together once the busy tourism season is over and the fall comes, then we will look at all of this again and what's going to work in 2025 and onward.
All right. So we'll start at the council table and then I'll go to the public and then we'll come back to the council table. So council comments. Starting with Councilor Timpson. Oh, I'm sorry. I was supposed to turn my mic on. You heard me? Yeah. I'll start at the council table with discussion, and then I'll go to the public, and then I'll come back to the council table. So starting with Councilor Timpson.
It was something like this where, I do not really know how it operates at the tourist outfitters level. And I think that I want to be certain that what we are suggesting here fits with what they suggested in their most recent letter. And I don't want to assume that I know that they're in line with this or that they're not in line with this. And I'd really like to hear whether or not this fits what they are proposing.
Thank you. Councilor Lambrina.
Thank you. So I spent the morning calling neighboring communities, and I spoke with 6, so I have 4 written down here. But I just want to note that all 6 communities that I call don't charge a boat launch fee. And a few of them were actually surprised when I mentioned that Sioux County charges their boat launch fees. And so, for example, Red Lake does not charge boat launch fees. They charge for parking, and they own 2, or the town runs 2 in Red Lake. Ear Falls does not charge boat launch fee, and they have 3. The city of Kenora does not charge any boat launch fees. They only charge an $8 a day fee for parking. The city of Dryden does not have any boat launch fee, and they only have 2 in town. And so I spoke with the economic a development manager for one of the cities, and she asked me a question. She said, "Where do these fees go to?" And I embarrassed myself by saying, "I don't know. I think it just goes towards the general taxation." And she was actually surprised because she said, "Everywhere I go, I've not seen a community charge boat launch fees." And basically, we're talking about it. Lauren just mentioned that, you could probably charge $100 a day and people will probably charge it. We have 9. So my 2 questions are just, where do the boat launch fees go to? And 2, do we really need 9 boat launches in? Can we just I think it was Councillor Legos said this last time. Can we just have maybe 3 in a rest and say, use at your own risk? You know, it's in the town, but it's not maintained, so you use at your own risk. So with that being said too, again, maybe I just live in la la land in my own head, but boat launch fees should be free. I think that every Northern Ontario community does the same thing. Hunting, fishing, hunting, fishing, hunting, fishing. You know, go to Manitowoc. What do you guys do here? Hunting and fishing. Okay, went up to Savannah Lake a couple weekends ago. What do you guys do here? Hunting and fishing. Perfect. But went up to Pickle Lake. What do you guys do? Hunting and fishing. Okay, go to Horton Haven, hunting and fishing. Every community in Northern Ontario is tourism, hunting and fishing. So the only way we're going to stand out is if we entice the tourists to come. Because we're not on the Trans-Canada, we're not anywhere close to really anything. The way to entice tourists to come and stay in Sioux is say, hey, free boat launches, come as much as you like. You know, in my perfect world, people pay property taxes and that's it. You don't have to pay for anything else. You know, coming from Toronto, where garbage was free, or something was free, and now, you know, whatever, you have to pay for all that too. But with that being said, right here, right now, I'm voting no for any increases to fees, no for anything done this year. I think that we should spend this summer and this fall getting this done right and getting it done once and right. So anything we do should be for summer 2025. And I'm more than happy to, you know, start the conversation now to see what works, what doesn't work, you know, what can we do better, but not increasing fees, not in favor, yeah, so not, so personally, not in favor for increasing fees, not in favor for doing anything, because I think we fumbled the ball a little bit too late here, and people are, they start in 3 weeks, so that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Councilor Lee.
The original intention of the boat launch passes, since I was at these meetings, was the money collected would go into a reserve to actually fix the boat launches. At some point, a wage was added to the expenditure part of when we get our budget under expenditures. You have revenue from boat launch passes, you have a wage under there, you have supplies under there, you have contracts of service under there, and you have insurance under there. From the 2023 budget, they estimated 30,900 for revenue, and expenditures were almost $85,000. So they collected from the tax base $53,760, and they actually sold $48,000 in passes. So there should have been a bit more surplus than there was that when we were presented the numbers from 2018 to 2023. Again, I've always had an issue with a wage being in or under the expenditures. To me, that would solve all the problems if it was removed, because you would collect $48,000. The rest of the expenditures are covered through taxation already. And any money made by selling passes should go into the reserve. That's the way it was supposed to be done 25 years ago when it first came out. And we're still in the predicament today. Nothing has changed. So I don't know if that's a solution this year, but I am with Councillor Van Breda. I don't think any changes should be made this year. We should be status quo with the 3 passes. And then we should be talking to the tourist outfitters on moving forward.
Also, further comments? Councillor Cassidy.
I also agree that the wage portion is obviously eating into the revenue we generate from our boat launch passes. And I don't know how it's addressed, but it needs to be addressed, whether that is having someone else that can just oversee boat launches, removing it from the municipal oversight, which would allow other funding sources as well to offset and keep costs low. I think the $75 that we moved to the new fee structure we adopted was in response to help us manage some of this during this budget time with the intent that it needs to be revisited on a whole. I also note the letter here as well, from the outfitters, and I think whatever we're gonna do this year, I think we just need to make sure it works for our outfitters and then support them. I think there are, whatever the costs are for the boat launches, it should be a user fee or a user pay system as well. It should be, people out, you use the boat launches, people with boats, you pay to the upkeep and whatever that is, but that money should be, for the most part, going back into the boat launches through work and upgrades. So
I was approached a couple months ago by some of the outfitters. At that time, I told them my knowledge of the boat launches was limited. I've come to learn more. I missed the last meeting, unfortunately. I wasn't able to attend. But I agree with Councilor Thompson on making sure that we get it right between the municipality and the tourism outfitters. As far as parking fee versus boat launch fee, I was recently in Kenora with the hockey team. And their parking lot is the size of 2 football fields, so at $8 a spot. I don't know what that comes up to. For the parking fee, boat launch fee, if there is a fee, I'm not sure where it goes. Obviously, they have to be maintained for safety. That's a concern of mine. We can't just, let Mother Nature, whether it's a flood or torrential rains, have an impact on that. And I have to have a question here. How many fines has there been given to, and what is the fine? We're not having a pass.
So,
Mayor, so same as the fee is the same for fines in town. It's all the same fine for failure to display a tag at the boat launches. I don't have the numbers in front of me with respect to revenues or fines that were collected in previous years. What I will say though is that the goal of enforcement is to encourage compliance. Enforcement isn't intended to be a revenue generating tool. That it's there as a stick to encourage people to follow the rules. So, but I don't have those numbers set right now.
Okay, as far as the daily and the seasonal numbers that are in front of me, I'll reserve my decision on which way I'm gonna vote until I hear some of the outfitters speak, and I'll vote from that. Thank you.
all right, I think I'll just make a couple of comments. We have 9 boat launches and they are spread out over, I think the farthest east is Deception Landing, is it? And the farthest west would be Hudson. Start going to the
Butterfly Lake would probably be the furthest.
farthest, yeah. So, and then they're spread out. It takes time to get there, even if we're only doing the minimal maintenance required to keep them alive, so to speak. There is minimal maintenance required, whether it be occasional grading of the ramps, putting the docks in, taking them out, minor repairs, etc. And it takes time. And as far as the wages, I mean, I thought that, to be transparent, that I'm guessing that the staff would assign their time to different tasks, and if that's the wages, how much time they're spending driving out to Deception Landing and doing something, how much equipment time, truck time, etc. There are real costs that if they're not covered and shown as through boat launches, then they're, I guess, buried in recreation or public works or wherever they are. But they form part of it, it would inflate what looks, the public works cost with a hidden cost that is not explained. So to my mind, it probably is important that they be assigned to the task at hand, and we know how much it costs to operate and run various parts of public works and the recreation department. If it's, and the resolution in front of us is regarding outfitters boat launch packages. It's not, that's correct, right? That's what we're,
Yes, through Mayor Lawrence, council did pass bylaw at the April 17th meeting adopting new fees for 2024.
so what's in front of us now is the arrangements with the outfitters. If we make boat launches free, and you know, in some ways I'm not opposed. I look at the recreation department, the parks, the playgrounds. We don't charge a fee for people to use those. They're covered through general taxation and whether you're a tourist or a resident, you have access to the parks, and there are real costs associated with maintaining parks and playing fields. It's in the overall the general taxation base with no user fees. We subsidize the recreation center, but the arena, I don't know, Meredith, half, the ice time charges cover half the cost of running the ice part, and then the other part of the rec center probably covers 3/4 or something. But we subsidize recreation at the recreation department. Should we subsidize recreation through boat launches as well? It's a recreational activity. And then we have the overlap with the business side and tourism. And we also have the we're probably worse off than any of those other municipalities that were named earlier in terms of our reliance on the residential tax base, on general tax levy. So we're tasked with looking at creative ways to find alternative revenues. And here we are, here's boat launches. And now you're saying, no, don't do that. Let's raise the taxes again. It's a double-edged sword. It's a difficult proposition either way. I'll just leave it at that and just say, though, what we did come together for today, and the motion is the outfitters package, and we need to hear. So before I go to the public, Councillor Clemson.
Yeah, I didn't hear, I didn't see any complaints from the outfitters about the raise in the rate. There seemed to be some details that they didn't agree with. They said they would be happy to, or one of them said they would be happy to issue day passes to locals, public. The issue of the hotel tourist fishermen that are staying at the hotel is not addressed. He just want a week, and they're stuck with, they have to go online to register, but as somebody pointed out before, a lot of the people that are coming to fish might not have the proper data package. They may not be good on internet. There's still so many holes in this that, I mean, if the outfitters agree with what we have suggested, I'm happy to vote for it. But we still have to look at the gaps that are there. And you see, look at her, who wants to take the canoe for a day on a Sunday, isn't internet savvy and can't get a pass. There has to be somewhere that people can get a pass on a Sunday when if they're not able to use the internet, there's nothing open to it. So.
Okay, staff would like to comment. Yep.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, we do have plans to have someone at the town beach selling the permits, so that would cover the weekends. And then the rec center and the town office would also, especially knowing that this is a transition year and we're educating people about the online portal. So there is still an option to purchase an actual. Our hope is to have hired staff on weekends at the town beach, so that
I mean,
that's an alternative option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's okay, that's good. That's good.
All right, unless staff, any more comments at this time, or shall I go to the public then? So if you wish to speak, please step forward. And if you are a representative of an association, please state which association that you represent. If you're just an individual business owner not representing an association state that as well. So members of the public who wish to speak. Or if you don't wish.
I'll come in closer just so everyone can hear me. I'm allowed to be. My name is Nicole Archer and I am representing the Sioux Hudson Tourism Association as the president. And I also have feedback from a member of the general public that couldn't be here and asked me to bring up a couple points as well. So I will start with the Tourism Association. We have collaboratively been involved in the tourist operator package. Councillor Timpson was correct that there wasn't any issue with the price increases of the day pass and the seasonal pass. We did suggest that the weekly permit be $30, and that we would be able to sell a paper copy of the weekly pass to our customers that are staying at lodges. But the town did then instruct us also that we were not allowed to sell to the public, that we were only allowed to sell to the customers staying at our camps. And for some of us that are a little more local, that's kind of hard because you get people that come in all the time and you don't want to turn away business. So short of sitting at a computer and working with them to go to the OPSCOM program to register themselves, it just kind of seems like you're turning away business because they could do it on their own. And if they're selling day passes at the town beach and that's a paper copy, then that's another direct taking business away from the outfitters. And then there's also outfitters who are not drive to, and some of their customers need to use boat launch before they even get to their camp. And like someone else had mentioned as well, there's no Wi-Fi out at the boat launches. You can't just stand there and use a QR code and go online to register your license plate. And then of course, there's also the issue of if they don't get a pass and you put a ticket on an American license plate, where's the enforcement for American license plates? If they have fines, it's not enforceable in any way. So from the Tourist Association, we were working collaboratively, but we do agree that this is a very short timeline to put this program together, and there does seem to be a lot of holes and a lot of disagreement. And the association as a whole does not agree with putting all the direct costs on to visitors and tourists that are already paying a lot of money to come here and spend their money and create the economic boost that they do to this town. So we would like to see that if there are changes moving forward, that it is not a direct cost to tourists, that if there is still a cost, that it would be locals and tourists alike. From the other part of it too is the proposed, the revised proposed one said that the collection dates, they would send someone from the recreation department out to all of the tourist outfitters, looks like about every 2 weeks, to collect money for the boat launch passes and possibly issue new passes. So that right there just shows me a huge administration expense that they didn't even have last year, where operators were going to the rec center to bring in and check in their reconciliations. So it was suggested that there could definitely be alternatives with the technology, e-transfers, invoices for reconciliation, that sort of thing. So that don't add more costs and more work for people. This is already causing a lot more work for the outfitters. You got somebody coming in, and now you have to explain to them that I can't sell you an annual pass. You have to go on the computer and you have to log in and you have to go to your license plate. And it's a fair amount of information that you need in order to give it to them. So it does create work for everybody. So we hope that that it can be a work in progress. From the town member, this is from Daryl Morgan. He wanted to be here today and he's out of town. And he asked me to bring up a few points as well. Some of these have already been brought up, so I won't reiterate them. But he wanted to know for the bylaw officers who do go out and issue tickets, what is actually issued compared to what is actually collected. And for someone who is paying for a day pass and they don't get a ticket the first day, but they do the second day, what is the cost of that ticket? Is it worth the fine to take your chance? or is it not? So there's a lot of people who also take it that way. So he says just taking a simple situation and it's been made very complicated and burdensome. And hopefully there's a way that more money could come into the program through grants for improvement from tourism funding from the province. If the town truly supports tourism, then there needs to be the actions that prove that.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak in the,
That's just,
sorry, can you stand up and state your name? Thanks.
yeah. I'm from Brian from Red Pine Lodge and Slate Falls Outpost. I don't really have a whole lot going on because brand new to a camp that's driving and, you know, I've owned Slate Falls Outpost for quite a few years now, but you know, getting into starting up my first season here and then get this email. The first one definitely did not make sense to me at all. I'm glad there was at least some change to, you know, it made a little bit more sense than that first program because that, you know, wouldn't have worked for myself at all. But going to the, you know, everybody's saying, you know, going to the passes and going to the bull launch, all these vehicles, all these trips that are making. When I go to the bull launch, I'm usually picking up garbage. You know, I'm doing all these things. I can pick up garbage almost every time I'm at a bull launch. So if there's all these man hours going in, how come I'm picking up garbage every time I go? Like, this is a lot of things that happen. So I think there's a lot of different ways to go about it. But going forward, you know, there's a way easier way to make this happen, I think. But 3 weeks ahead of our season is not the way to do it. I shouldn't even be here right now because I've got a lot of cabins to get ready and there's just no time to be here, unfortunately for us. So I think the biggest thing for me is that this is the wrong time to be doing this.
We acknowledge that already.
Yeah.
But we're here now and we have to do it.
Yeah, we're here now and we're talking about it, but you know, the weekly pass is a must. So going through, I don't think a lot of the guests care about paying a little bit of a fee. To have all those things, you know, going through and you guys are saying like, you know, there's a wage and stuff. There has to be some improvements that if there's money there, they should be going back into the bull launch and that should be part of the plan that we figure out through time. But that's gotta be a major part of it. And, you know, grading and garbage pickup and all those things, I think that's gonna be a great thing. All these people that are coming to our town here, if they go there and they're seeing a really nice, clean boat launch, they're not gonna mind a little fee or anything like that's all I think easily done. But I think you gotta see some improvement through that, I think. So if they're going and they're picking up garbage and doing all these things, like the garbage is an easy one to point out because that's what happens most of the time. I think most of the tourism outfitters that have done this and everybody that's putting out passes, those aren't the people that you're really worried about charging fees. They're all charging fees and those are the people that are probably where most of your money comes from. I don't think there's a lot of locals that, you know, I've always bought one since I've lived here. I bought one every year. Do I use the boat launch? A couple times a year. I don't fish, but I pay for a boat launch every year because I'm supporting the program. That's a local, right? So I just think that step on the brakes, take the summer, don't do any changes, just squash everything. I think seems like that's kind of the whole, what everybody's saying here anyway. And just stick with the program and it's going to take time. If you guys want to do some changes, I think you can do it, but it's not the time. So that's my opinion for that.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public?
My name is Sonia Nutt. I represent Nuts Country Cabins. And within the last weekend or the weekend before, I went around to well, not all, but about 5 different launches to see what's going on. And like what was mentioned, garbage all over the place. There was only one that didn't have that much garbage, and that was West Hudson. And the launches are not in that great efficient. They do need work. The one that I noticed that had work done to it, obviously recently, was deception. And so I started looking at the boundary lines. Deception is outside of Sioux Lookout boundary lines. And I couldn't understand why there was so much obvious money spent there. And then I realized with talking with other camp owners that that's a popular one. So that's fine. But there are some launches that are not very popular. For example, Butterfly. That's not a popular one. And it's the one that my camp is right next door to is Big Vermilion. Big Vermilion is a beautiful lake. Not a lot of people go on it. Locals a little bit, but you should see some of the customers that come up. I went and actually took pictures. That boat launch needed a lot of work. There's no garbage can on, there was only one garbage can, sorry, and that was at Deception. There was one outhouse, and that was at Deception. None of the other ones have this. But when you're looking at raising prices, like I've spoken to some of my customers and trying to advise them that there are coming up changes to boat launches, you know, they're asking, well, are they going to get better? What's going to be provided? They don't mind paying a little bit more if they see that the money is being spent on these things. We have customers who clean up and collect garbage out there. You know, we hear about, you know, old wages for people going out there from the staff, going out to do, I don't know what, because there's a bunch of garbage there all the time, you know. You know, I just think that the wage thing needs to be addressed. There are so many different options that we can take to help keep costs down and concentrate more on funds of the more popular boat launches. Maybe having, you know, like the 5 top ones, and that's where we spend our money on. Because Sioux Lookout, just like a lot of places like Lake the Woods and all that, but Sioux Lookout is really known for its best fishing, and yet our boat launches are not that great, right? So I've fished down in the Toronto area, the Great Lakes, and yes, down there they do charge money. However, they have a lot more offers for their boat launches for what you pay. Example is the parking. There's hardly any parking at Big V. There's hardly any parking at, what was the only big parking was at Deception. And that was awesome. That was great. But there's no light posts at night for when people are coming off the water to look and see what's going on. There's no, you know, other than Deception, there's no public washroom facility, potty, you know, to go to the bathroom after spending all day on the water. And then there's no place, no garbage can for them to throw anything away. So what do people typically do? Just toss it. And there's nobody there to pick up garbage. I was astounded with how much garbage, and I have pictures that I've took of all of them, but I was just astounded with that. So what I would like for the town to consider is the wages that you are allocating to the cost of boat launches and that, you know, and we have a little bit more accountability for what they're actually doing at these boat launches, other than maybe having a smoke break or giving out a ticket, because garbage collection is not being done, and that also looks bad on the town from a tourism point of view. That's all I have to say. All right, thanks.
Thank you very much. Anybody else who wishes to speak?
Everyone, my name is Alistair Webster. Myself and Ryan and Bully bought North Aberdeen last year. I'm not going to add a big, huge, long spiel. I'm pretty much in support of what everybody has said. I'm a 20-year veteran of facilities maintenance and management. I don't see it happening. That's one thing I could say after 10 years of courting my wife and stealing her out of here for a while and then coming back. The boat launches haven't changed in that 10 years from anything that I've noticed. I have not been to Deception since last year, so I don't really know what's going on there. My support is to make sure that you guys are trying to pump the brakes here because it does not look organized. It is very poorly put together and it's also last minute and I don't support it. That's pretty much all I have to say. And I think you really need to look at some compliance issues you may have with your workers to ensure that they're actually going out there and using their time effectively. Right? Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
So fast.
Is there anybody else in the public who wishes to speak? Pausing because it seems to take a pause each time for, make sure. Okay, thank you. I'll bring it back to the council table and I'm going to just have, perhaps I'll, CIO, there's a few things. Again, I just, council, what we're looking at today is the outfitters package, right? It's not, and in our previous discussions, we have talked about some of these issues that have been raised and we need a long-term plan. And that is, we've committed to do that over the course of 2024 so that we're ready in a timely manner to make changes and come up with a plan collaboratively with the partners that are here and others for 2025. So let's not go too far into planning the future. We do have to, as we've heard, it's timely for this year. What is the package for the outfitters is, I think, the number one, the only topic on the agenda today. Well, it's good to get all this information for the future. Let's say, the garbage issue. This time of year is always the worst for garbage, and I don't even know if the crews and staff can speak to this. Have we started going out to do the big cleanup? The ice is gone. We didn't have that much snow this year, but I'm not sure when that happens. But and we don't have people on site, and some of what you say, I mean, I'm not going to comment on staff. This always has to be my assumption that staff are doing their work. But staff aren't on site 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And unfortunately, people do throw away garbage. And maybe our garbage containers or whatever need to be more robust, the capital expenditure, whatever. Maybe we need to go out more frequently, a maintenance expenditure. But garbage is certainly, when I first joined council, it was taxis that were the big issue. And then garbage is the next big garbage, is whether it be in-town garbage collection or garbage around town or litter around town. Everybody sees it. It's unsightly. It's certainly not good for tourism. And I'll leave it there. Staff, CIO, do you want any comments on what's been said so far before I come back to the council table?
Sure. I think, certainly we hear the concerns. We understand that the expectations are what they are, with respect to where the wages are allocated. Ultimately, that's going to be a council decision. Either they're allocated as part of the cost center, which is boat launches, or they're allocated elsewhere in the recreation budget. And either way, the tax base is still subsidizing the boat launches. It has for many years, and it will continue to in 2024. So I just wanted to share some of that. Perhaps our recreation and culture manager can just speak to the early season and the cleanup and when that gets underway and when the ice is coming out of the ice plant and all that good stuff.
I do know through you, Mayor Lawrence. My operations supervisor under my request had gone out to whatever boat launches he could to make a maintenance requirement list. So I have that. As far as going out there and starting to clean up, I know they've been focusing on the town beach. They're also still working with the arena being open this last week. So they're kind of like a little bit behind that way, having to kind of do both, getting outdoor areas ready as well as still operating the arena. So I'm sure in the next week or so, they'll be kind of going out there. As far as garbages, I do know that there's in-grounds, especially at Deception, because we know that it is a high traffic launch. So the in-ground gives you more capacity, but again, we know there's certain days of the week that there's more usage. So And on those days, our guys try to schedule, and get out there when they can, knowing that. And then we're collaborating with bylaw officers, so we're not double sending people to the same place as well. So.
Okay, thanks. And I want to extend appreciation to staff. I know, and to the outfitters for, there's been a lot of back and forth over the last couple of weeks and a lot of staff time put into it. Too late? Yeah, too late. And you know, if anybody's to blame, it should be council to blame for that. We're the ones that have been consistently here. We have a new recreation manager, a new CAO, et cetera. So blame council, don't blame staff. Staff are working hard to get this done. Council table, go ahead. Keeping in mind, what's the motion on the floor is the outfitters package for this year.
Yeah, I guess I'm still not clear if the outfitters are in favor of proposal number 2, which is listed in the report. And if there's any, we can compromise maybe some aspects of proposal 2 that will work for you and others won't work. So nobody was in favor of the first one, but.
No, if you're speaking towards the group here, I think, you know, when you give somebody an option to comment on, that's what you're gonna get back is comments.
Yeah.
And then, so we got another option and you asked for comments, so we give you comments. Like, it's not something that we have a choice on. You're telling us what's happening. What do you feel? Here's our comments. So it's not like we had, like, do we want it to change? No, I don't think it's worthwhile to make a change. But when you send out a package and say comment on it, all you can do is comment on it. So it's not like am I in favor of any changes? No, I'm not in favor of any changes. I think it was working fine. It seems like it's making, you know, money. Is the money spent the right way? Doesn't sound like it. But, you know, when I responded to the first email, it wasn't, what do you think should happen? It's, what do you think? Give us your comments. So, no.
I guess the main thing at this point is the rise of the fee, which I think there's not a lot to speak about that. And if we want to improve it, we have to raise the fee. So is it reasonable to suggest we stick with the fee set, but also let the outfitters sell 1 week fees, because that obviously necessary, and then wait to try to get a better system next year and do that consultation. But it does seem a little bit complicated to me. And again, not being an outfitter, I don't know how it works, but maybe, yeah, I don't think the outfitters are thinking that this is going to work, and we need it to work.
I think the best solution would be to keep the passes that we normally get for this year and also start to incorporate the electronic passes. So we have the option of both for 2024. I know that's a cost to get all those printed, and whether we can get them printed in 3 weeks or 2 weeks. Head shake, no. Again, we should have been discussing this in December, so.
We are where we are. So
We are where we are, exactly. But I think we're sort of stuck now, because if we can't get the passes in time, because the idea was, well, we're gonna go to this system.
staff,
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I just want to make a comment. The proposal number 2 isn't really much different than what has been happening in the past, as far as allowing the outfitters to sell the permits to their guests. So the real big difference is that it's $30 is what we're proposing. They still had to keep a record of what they were selling to the public or their guests. Where part of the reason we want to just exclusively do their guests is so that we can have some information at the end of the season for when we go and talk with the outfitters. We'll be able to say, like, well, Anderson's Lodge sold 50 weekly tickets, and we know that was just to their guests. I feel like it would just give us some more data that we can use when we're having those conversations in the fall. Collections, reason we wanted to do a set day was so that we didn't have money coming in all different times of the week or months or whatever. If outfitters are willing to come and see us on those days with the funds, then by all means, that helps save staff time.
I'm just gonna, I don't normally go back, but I'm
If you don't mind, Mayor Lawrence, I would like to just reflect on what Councillor Lego said. I do also agree that like Ryan said as well, that it was a proposal that we were asked to give feedback on. It wasn't a yes or no. So we were trying to work collaboratively and trying to figure something out that was mutual for everybody. Again, speaking on behalf of the association with the members who did meet together. And with this new proposal, we were told that they would have paper tickets available and that they would be put on dashboards or hang from the mirrors. So that would eliminate the issue of stickers falling down, which was one of the reasons why they wanted to get rid of the sticker program. And so then you would just tell your customers, you're responsible to make sure that ticket is visible. If it's not visible, you get a ticket, end of story. And the other part of that is the only main difference is just that we're being asked to not sell to anybody, but in previous programs, when you had that your reconciliation sheet, one of the questions on there was, are they a resident or non-resident? And so the way that was filled out may not have been clear to everybody, but when I filled that out, that was resident is resident as in local, non-resident is anybody else. So there should have been able to have data collected in that way to say, and it's, my sheet says Mooseheart Lodge at my camp. Sonia's would say Nuts Camp. So you have that data there. If they weren't collecting it before, you'd still be able to collect that now, keeping with the old system and just do paper. If they're already printing day and weekly passes as paper for this program, I think they should be able to do the annual as well. And then you can do that soft rollout of the OPSCOM program that the people who want to not have to worry about a paper on their dashboard, it just goes right to their license plate, especially for locals. I think that you can introduce that program and roll it out and see how it goes. And then there's that option for everybody that is kind of a mutual thing that would kind of work best for everybody. Thank you.
I'm gonna ask staff if I can, I'll come to you. Don't shoot me, okay? The weekly passes for, well, two things. One, that the tourist outfitters be able to sell to local as well as their guests. Is how much of a bridge is that? And the weekly passes for everybody, which would be local and or visitors, local, whatever. Well, is that those two things aren't in it right now? The weekly passes are in for the tourist outfitters, but no, for local public. I don't have an Uncle Bob, but Uncle Bob comes up with his boat for 5 days to stay with me and wants to fish, and he wants a weekly pass. That you know, he can't get that right now, which I'm wondering that maybe that's a, tell me about taking those steps.
So that would mean that we'd have to have, I think the whole idea was that we were gonna have everything solely go online. And in that portal, the weekly wasn't, it's not built to be able to do that. So I guess the alternative is having a paper copy available for sale to the general public.
I guess
It's just, now we're still having two things that we're managing, I guess.
Yeah, please.
A few members, yeah, so from that perspective, to move forward with some of what's being suggested, we're actually adding more administrative work this year in 2024. If that's council's wish, that's fine. Yeah, I'll just leave it.
Yeah, I think this year is going to be a transition year to one, let's say, enhanced management, better management of the boat launches, enhanced recognition at the council table, et cetera, and enhanced collaboration. And I think in that transition year, it's going to be awkward and prickly, and we have to try and address that and keep, if I'm a member of the public and I see a tourist sitting there, and I look in the windshield, we got a weekly pass, and I'm thinking, well, why can't I get a weekly pass? So I know I'm going upstream, and I just think that's one thing. And the OPSCOM, I get it. I mean, we're challenged by people in the public to, you've got to streamline things, you got to get modern, you got to be innovative and creative. And so we go to OPSCOM, and then you got to go back to what we used to do. It's like, it's difficult to make everybody happy, and going to OPSCOM, I get it. But maybe that's also, as was said, maybe it's a soft launch this year to see how that works. And it is, yeah, but council needs to realize that when we meet on the budget again, that this may have some budgeting implications too. Council Cassidy, sorry, I did. Council.
Two questions. A rumor that I always hear by people in town, they mentioned to me that the town employees take the time going to the boat launch the time for it. Is that true? So like, if you say, okay, we take 2 hours to go to Deception Bay to go grab cargo, well, it took me 45 minutes to get there. So I only went for 20 minutes and then 45 minutes back, so that's 2 hours. Is that true? Or does the time start when they get there?
Well,
That's just.
why wouldn't it start when they're going? That's what they're going for. That's why we're paying them to travel. Of course, it starts when they leave to go there. Yeah. I don't, sorry, staff, go ahead and answer that question.
Yes.
So then my other question is, so I remember at the last hit, I asked, well, can we still reach out to NOHFC funding to kind of get some of the worst boat launchers back into shape? Is that still a possibility, or?
I think we discussed that at the previous meeting, and it is, we're going over the course of this year in the fall, but you're not going to, that's not for this year. That's an application to be made based on what we determine. Part of the discussion is, do we want to keep 9 boat launches? There may be 1, 2, 3, 5 that we want to just divest ourselves of. So all that's to be determined, and then applications for capital grants will be made by staff based on where we go. Councilor Cassidy.
Yeah, I think obviously the biggest issue here, I think, I shouldn't call it an issue, but it's not, but the challenge, I guess, is the OPSCOM system. Now, have we actually reached out to them and seen if there's any way that the program could be modified to accommodate the weekly? Or I know some other programming we use, they will cater to some of their clients. I know we're probably not a big client, but wrong thing, but.
So we have to understand that the OPSCOM system primarily is a parking enforcement system. We are already pushing the boundaries a bit by trying to incorporate sail and boat launch tickets into it. So we're already pressing the boundaries to try to be as effective as we can with money we're spending on these types of programs. So we're trying to do the best we can with a system that is primarily designed for parking enforcement. And although, yes, that is parking enforcement, the system that we have in place for that with respect to these passes is somewhat unique in terms of how parking enforcement normally works. So, that's where we're at in that particular front.
So with this sort of, what are the implications, or what would the challenges be to staff if OPSCOM was not applied to boat launches?
Likely what will happen is the enforcement efforts just won't be as effective. Because the new system is set up in such a way that, this is one of the reasons we brought the new system in, is because the previous methods that we were using for parking enforcement were not effective. People weren't paying their fines, they weren't being held accountable for that. This new system will ensure that people always have to pay their fines, and if they don't, then it gets added to their vehicle registration renewals and all those types of things. So that is a big piece of that rationale and why we went in that direction, because we weren't effectively collecting fines in the past. We're trying to address that.
Any further?
Thanks, Warren.
We have to come to some resolution. Do you have can I ask staff, do you have any thoughts right now? Because I do have a thought here. Okay, I'm just gonna jump in and looking at proposal 2. Could it be, and I'm gonna ask staff this and then I'll ask council. Number 1, that outfitters are issued daily, day and weekly permits that would be sold direct exclusively, just sold to their guests and locals or whatever the correct terminology is. And hang in their review mirrors, no other change, just that one change. That they would, it's not exclusive to their guests, but it's to guests and locals. No changes in 2, no changes in 3. I'm not sure if there's, the 3 is, but the famous schedule number 4 that essentially just make it so that it's not picked up by staff. It's the outfitters bring it in on a schedule that you when you send a reminder to them. And on item 5, that outfitters instead of will be required to direct members of the public to Ofcom, will be asked to direct any members of the public to use Ofcom on a voluntary, if they wish to do that. Some people much prefer to do things online than in person. So give them the option. It's sort of like as was said, a soft launch for it. But it's optional. Are those changes workable, or are they? I know they're going against what you. I just think we're going to have compromise again and get to something that's workable. Staff, what would you think of those? I can put the CAO and staff on. Yeah,
It's doable. Yeah.
Councilor Cassidy.
Okay, so I'll throw a curveball. What if we're gonna do this and allow the weekly passes, we understand it won't work for Ofcom, but we're gonna have a weekly pass system through our outfitters. What if it is just weekly passes are available? If you want a weekly pass, you go to an outfitter to get it. Just track through them. That allows Doug's Uncle Bob to get one. And people just know that. Now, what that also does is people coming to visit, gives them exposure to our tourism establishments and spin off there. And now it's all inclusive. If you want one, you just go there, the system's there.
Sorry, I didn't follow the entire piece there. So Councilor Cassidy, you're saying that outfitters would only be permitted to sell weekly permits, but they could sell them to anybody?
Yes. And with that intent, and I think if there is a ability to track the local versus resident, I can't imagine a lot of situations where people are going to spend $30 weekly over the 75 for the year, but it could happen. But I think if we just capture people visiting here, they can get their weekly passes through outfitters. Or that's just weekly passes are available through outfitters. Daily and annual are available through the municipality. And this is how we bridge the transition. Don't get my curveball, Brian.
Yeah.
Not around. To you, Mayor Lawrence. I think that we may get some resistance from the general public to that, because that's adding another complexity. It's like, okay, I can go to the town office and the rec center and the beach for weekly or seasonal, or sorry, daily or seasonal, but for weekly, I have to go to an outfitter. I think that's going to be confusing to the public.
I hear what you're saying, but I also think it'll be more abrasive to the public to say that they can't buy weekly passes, and outfitters are.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, yes. So I think in the spirit of ensuring minimal change for the outfitters and the general public this year, I would just suggest that all 3 types be permitted to be sold by both parties, and we keep records accordingly.
Councilor Timpson.
Would that mean we have to rescind the resolution from 2 weeks ago?
The bylaw the council adopted 2 weeks ago was to set the daily rate at 15 and the seasonal rate at 75. There was no provision for weekly rates, so what we will do is proceed based on that's what council is directing us to do. We will bring a new bylaw at the May regular council meeting to provide for this revised fee structure, if that's council's wish.
for the council? So. Do we have, sorry, are we far enough along that we can have a friendly amendment to this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the recommendation itself doesn't change, just speaking to the proposal does, so we know that, so the actual recommendation that council adopts, this proposal, as outlined in the recreation control manager's report, and as further refined by council at the May 1st meeting.
And also, further refined, that would include the passes will be available by, sorry.
Yeah, and further, the council directs that weekly passes be available for sale to the general public as well,
At all locations.
at all locations.
Well,
But, price for weekly passes.
we do $30 for, yeah. Yeah, we're set at $30. That's the direction. We'll bring the bylaw, so it's, so because it's a user fee, it has to be, it's direction to staff. It's not in the motion right now. It's in the direction, so that when we direct staff, often it has to come back to staff. Back to the council. So are we clear, council? Councilor Tim.
I would just like to see what the Tourist Association thinks of that.
I think I don't mind that, but we have to be careful. This isn't, I mean, but if we can have one representative speak, yeah.
As a representative of the association, I can't speak to that specific question without a general consensus, but I would think that my assumption would be that the last proposal would be the best option, because it would be a smoother transition and we can see the good in both sides, the OPSCOM and having paper copies, that it's just gonna be a lot less stress for everybody. And visitors and locals alike will still be able to access their passes wherever they need to. Some may find it handier to do it online. And the whole point is that we're still bringing revenue into the boat launches. The small increases, I think people will be fine with. And I think that it's just a lot easier for everybody with such short notice to just do this process, and the paper copies, which will be easier. Everybody has parking passes. You lose your pass, you buy a new one, and it's just straightforward. Display it or you get a fine. And I think that would be a great compromise to have a soft launch into the OPSCOM program.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think we are making, I know it's, and I want to thank and apologize to staff. I know you've tried to get to, we demand perfection, you give us perfection, but perfection is never perfect. Step back, it's been a lot of work, but I think over the course of this will happen everybody's going to be busy doing what they're doing, and then in the fall there needs to be some intense work on this and some preparatory work. And speaking to the CIO this morning, there may be some other partners that are coming forward to collaborate on this as well. So I think we won't be in this position next year at this time. We'll be in our seats talking about boat launches, and I hope coming up with something good in 8 months' time or so, or whatever that is. Councilor Timpson.
Yeah, I think I appreciate staff's pulling this together so quickly, but I don't think the work has been wasted. It's gonna be groundwork for sort of a system that works well. One question, is the ONCOM gonna happen this year or no? Fair enough.
Through Mayor Lawrence, I would request the opportunity, given the developments today, that for staff to have the opportunity to reassess the viability of that system for this year. In some ways, it would be nice to do a soft launch for the boat passes, but we will review that further. Just off the top of my head, I'm identifying some challenges now, so that may not happen this year, but we will review that. And in our community, I mean, obviously, the municipality is going to be putting advertising and information out to the general public to advise the change in fees and so on and so forth. We are also going to use that to launch the OPSCOM system. That messaging may change a bit, So that on that particular point is to be determined.
Thank you. So we've taken 5 steps forward, 4 steps back, which is 1 step forward, and next year we hope to take 5 steps forward, then only 3 steps, 2 steps back. All right. Council, we're good? I'll call the vote then on the recommendation. All in favor? Carried. And before I do the closing bylaw, thank you to the members of the public and associations who come up. Thank you for your collaboration. Thank you for your rational and informed collaboration and understanding that, you know, nobody's perfect, the council isn't, and we just hope to keep moving forward. Thank you very much. Bylaw number 4624, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of Municipality of Sioux, May 1st, 2024, special council meeting be there first, second, third time that passed. Moved by Council Van Breda, seconded by Councilor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Steph.